But
Welcome to the Blue Squad Sports Radio podcast. It's the first 40. It is I, Puma, along with Ice Water. And I got to get Ice Water to talk about, he got the Raider patch on. Who you repping today, man?
man, let me tell you, represent Uncle Jack, man. Jack Tatum, brother. Jack Tatum, Uncle Jack. Had a chance to spend some quality time before his passing. About 10 good years on a fundraiser for diabetes.
Uh-huh.
Really got to know the gentleman and just really solid individual. Definitely missing. And he was like your uncle, except he was probably one of the top 100 football players of all time. So I love that. I had a number of questions, and he was so delightful, beautiful family, good dude, man, good dude, and often misunderstood. Let me just say that.
Yeah, I loved him. I loved him. I wish the Raiders were still like that, but they're not. Matter of fact, they got booed by the fans this weekend. We're going to talk a little bit of NFL football starting off this show because we really don't talk about it during the first 40. But, hey, man, some of the things that stood out for you in this past week 15 of the NFL.
Well, primarily the pretenders. You think about teams like Chicago that literally took down Dallas a week earlier, and then they come up and they can't get it done that way. You think about the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
The Raiders had a great opportunity to move forward and possibly at least finish above 500 if they don't reach the postseason, and they lose to Jacksonville, and that just doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't get that. One other one, probably the most glaring part of it was, and that going that I knew it in my heart, but my head said no, was the dismal performance by the Cleveland Browns in Arizona. Dismal.
I picked Arizona that game. I couldn't believe that Cleveland could come out and beat Arizona in Arizona.
Dismal. It was dismal, and I in my heart I said yeah, but my head was like, nah, you gotta make sure you can't just go wild. I mean, of course you could take that chance because you're up by 19. So when you're in the trenches, you can only do so much. But things like that just kind of made you look, and of course I was totally blown away by Dallas's performance. Not blown away, and I said I was surprised. And I say that because of the fact that they finally went back to what has made them successful the last few years. Give the damn ball to Ezekiel Elliott and play some defense. How about that? Start with Ezekiel Elliott, work around that offensively, and play some defense. That usually means success, even in the blue uniforms that so abruptly put out there in the text. Even in the dark blue uniforms, when you get a daggone ball of Ezekiel Elliott and follow that plan, it usually turns successful.
Usually they don't do well in those blue uniforms. I don't know what it is about those blue uniforms, but they came out and they kicked the Rams behind in that game. And every time you think the Rams are, getting their foothold in and they're going to make that run, they just can't do it. The defense is not what it used to be. Goff is not the elite player. I'm sorry. He's not the elite player. And their coach doesn't know how to make adjustments during the game when they're not winning the game sometimes. And they have a lot to learn. What surprised me about last week is that I know we made picks in our last week picks in week 15, but famous Jameis, man, can throw a ton of interceptions, but somehow, some way, finds a way to pull out the victory. He reminds me of what he used to do in at Florida State, and where he used to get himself in trouble and then pull the game out at Florida State. So that surprised me a little bit. Surprised me again that Cincinnati was able to tango with the New England Patriots for a while. Also, what surprised me is I thought Washington almost got Philadelphia. Philadelphia is just, they're like on the ropes, man. And this is going to be a wild game against Philly and Dallas coming up, and we'll make our picks in our overtime picks. But the Buffalo-Pittsburgh game, with their quarterback Hodges making all those bad throws and really kind of cost them the game. I thought Pittsburgh, even though they're still in playoff contention, they could have really kind of put themselves in a solid position there. But let's go back to Cleveland, man, because there's a lot of trouble in Cleveland, and a lot of people are saying a lot of things, and then they're going back and saying, "Oh no, I didn't say that." You had Odell Beckham. I put up an article with CBS that he wanted to go play with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they were like, these are 5 reasons why that will never happen. And so you have Landry who's talking about get me out of here to the Arizona Cardinal bench. And so what's happening? I know you're in Ohio, man. You're hearing it all on talk radio and all that other stuff. I said before the season started that Cleveland's not going to be as good as everybody thought they were, because when they made the trades and they were getting all this talent, and they had the new coach, I was saying, pump your brakes on putting them in the Super Bowl. They haven't proven it on the field. What's happening in Cleveland, man?
Well, I mean, anybody that thought that they had a chance to go to the Super Bowl was crazy as hell. I'm just saying. I know even if you're a Browns fan, that's what we call fanatical for sure, because you're a fan. But I think the major issue is no one knows who to blame. I find it interesting, though. A lot of people here love Baker Mayfield for what he did. It's not to say he's not a decent quarterback, okay? But I've always said from the beginning that it's a difference than when you play against guys that may not be as talented, maybe subpar talent-wise, and you're the show. And then you have to transition to playing with guys that have been all-pro or on an all-pro level, particularly from a receiver standpoint. I think that's an issue for Baker Mayfield. But I also think what has hurt him in their offense is the factor that the plays that worked last year when nobody had film on them and they're trying different things are not working this year.
Right.
And I think that comes back to the coach. I think part of it is the inexperience of the coach. I think a lot of it has to do with his inexperience, his inability to control his locker room. Because the question is now, if anybody or certain, and I'm just gonna throw this name out there, even though he just got fired, Tom Coughlin. If Tom Coughlin was the coach, could you even imagine players acting in such a manner on the sidelines or going over there saying, "Get me out of here," and acting a certain way? First of all, he would have taken him out the game, and he would have removed him, probably sent him back to the locker room, despite what the situation may be. So I think it's a manner of large disrespect. You can always come back and say you didn't say anything right now. You can deny it. But I think by the way that the lack of performance by the team, the lack of discipline that you see by the team, exuded by the team, is kind of showing all the way around. And some people have mentioned before that they don't really want to blame Baker Mayfield, because if guys are not running routes properly or not running, doing what they're supposed to do, he can only do so much. Granted, I give you that. But Baker Mayfield, as a quarterback, if you're going around trying to point out what people need to do and trying to be a leader, it shows me one or two things. They're not listening to you, or they simply don't see you as a leader.
True.
If they're not doing it. And you can't make players do what they want to do. But how can you go around saying, hey, you need to be here, you missed it? If somebody's not listening to you, you're just talking basically to yourself, because people that respect leaders or people in so-called charge, they usually follow protocol to a certain degree.
Yeah, it seems to me that he's not a leadership type. He may be a college leader and in college football, but as far as leader of men, hasn't earned that right yet. I said from day one, it's the coach. It's the lack of discipline in this team, and it's the coach. I heard somebody say this earlier on ESPN, and I think it's very true. And I always thought it, and I've said it before. Either it's coaching or talent. Cleveland has the talent.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the coach. And you just mentioned Coughlin, who just got fired by Jacksonville. It may take a coach like that to come in and say, okay, we need to put some things in order. Maybe that's what Cleveland needs. Whether they will respond to him or not is another thing. Because if you got a team that's talented, I can see Coughlin, even though, his coaching days are over, you need a disciplinarian who will put his foot down and say, you're not going to do this. This is how we're going to run our ship. He's almost like a Belichick type kind of coach as far as discipline, where you don't see or hear New England players saying certain things or doing certain things because it's a tight ship and everybody's looking out for everybody else. But at Cleveland, it's looked like everybody for themselves. I knew that Odell Beckham Jr. was going to have this problem in Cleveland. I'm just surprised he hasn't gone off on the sidelines yet or doing something crazy on Instagram. But time will tell. Gordon gets banned again this week. And I kind of feel for this guy, but I think this is his last time around for banned substances. What are your thoughts on Gordon being banned again? Will this be the last time we see him in the league?
It's sad, and I'm not one. I'm one for giving people second, third chances, but I think it's a wrap, man. I really do. I think it's a wrap. I mean, he has to show at some point that he can at least keep himself together in regards to performance on the field or just in life. So maybe he goes to Canada if he wants to do something like that. I think he needs to now work on himself. They said that over and over again, work on himself, and then perhaps go to another league or do something to show that he's capable of keeping straight and keeping getting himself together to compete on the football field. But if you keep, it's like one of those things. I think they're continuing to enable him, unfortunately,
Yeah.
where he knows that no matter how bad I am, I just got to show up right here, and then I can get this. And it comes to the point where you almost think that he does. It almost appears as if he can't help himself.
Yeah,
That's serious a problem. And if that's the case, then why is he allowed back in the league?
Talent.
I mean, I get that, but he's not. He hasn't. Look, he's been bounced around, and I'm sure that some of the teams made excuses for him, thinking that he might get better till they could not do anything else with him, so they cut him. Think about that. Think about how he bounced around in New England. They never really said what happened. They never really put the drama out there. But then he is in Seattle. I mean, hell, you can't play for Pete Carroll in the NFL. My goodness. He's one of the best player coaches known to man. And if Seattle had to let him go because of what was going on, it's a serious problem. Because he's definitely a player's coach, and most people like Pete Carroll. He was that way in college, and he's going to look after the guys. So if he can't keep it together there, I think it's time for him to just walk away and realize that hopefully he saves some money. Probably not, but save some money and work on becoming a better person. Work on your life, man. Seriously.
I kind of see this being a sad story that we're going to see years later on 30 for 30, and it may not come out good for him. He's a hell of a talent, but you know, I don't know what demons he's fighting. You know, a lot of people say pray for him. Hopefully, people around him will really try to take care of him and make sure he gets to where he needs to get to. But he needs to figure that out himself. He needs to get to a point where he's like, I need the help. And playing in the NFL, I can imagine playing in any pro sport. There are always temptations around, and you can't survive that. The other story, Terrell Suggs goes to Kansas City, which I think is a great move for him, going to a playoff team with a linebacker. He wasn't really gonna go anywhere with the Cardinals. What do you think about that move by Kansas City, who desperately needs some defensive dogs on their team?
Well, I think it's a good move. I mean, they're trying to do better. He's not the youngest guy anymore, but he still has some fire and we can bring to that locker room defensively. But I find it ironic, though. Initially, he didn't want to go there. He wanted to go back to Baltimore, and was kind of volleying to go back, and they were thinking about it. But then Andy Reid called him and said, "Hey, look, man, I know this is not your best destination that you want to be in, your favorite, but we need you." We really need you. And I think with you, we can make a run to do some other things where you can make a difference. And at that point, he said yes. So sometimes I think it's that chemistry. You have to have individuals like coaches like that go, look, hey, we need you. We need you to play. So we're interested in would you do it? And I think with that in mind, I think he will give his best effort considering knowing that they truly want him to be out there on that field.
Because it didn't sound like a hard sell for him with Kansas City, and I think with Baltimore, he would kind of wreck that chemistry that they have pretty much going. They're on a roll, and you know any little thing could kind of push them off kilter. So I don't think Baltimore will be the best. I know he wants to go home and make a run with them, but maybe Kansas City is that next place, that next best place. Eli Manning. I knew they were going to put Eli Manning back in because he was under 500 in his career, and they wanted to get him at least to 500. They may put him in again to play this week. I think they're playing what are they playing this week? Washington. They may put him in to get him over one game over 500. A lot of people are talking Hall of Fame for him. I can't see it, especially not after 5 years. He won 2 Super Bowls, but coming in with a 500 record as a quarterback, and they may put him in because his last name is Manning and have the brothers in, but I just don't see Hall of Fame with Eli Manning, and he plays for a team that I root for.
Yeah, I still think he gets in. He doesn't have the greatest numbers, and sometimes you can't always look at what somebody's done in the last few years. I mean, there are guys like you can look at his dad, Archie Manning. I mean, who got beat up every time he took the daggone field. So everybody doesn't have the greatest numbers, but they fight a good fight, and you have an appreciation for that. But the main thing that I think is really going to run with people, not only you can get past the factor that he's Peyton Manning's brother, you can't get past that, but you can look at the point that he literally beat the Patriots twice, man. That's gonna count for a lot. I don't care what,
Yeah.
however you want to look at it. It should not, maybe, but that's gonna go a long way with big bad Tom Brady and the bad Patriots, and they literally, with all kind of forces or whatever nature was going their way, they got the job done twice. So that in itself, and how long to win 2 Super Bowls against the mighty Patriots, that's gonna go a long way. And that might just be his ticket. He wasn't horrible. It'll be different if he was horrible. He just had some bad. They've had some bad teams lately, but those 2 Super Bowls and overall longevity, I think still gets him in. He won't be a first ballot. Might take a while, but
Yeah.
eventually, even the senior committee might put him in, but he'll get in.
Yeah, because I can think of so many other quarterbacks who should be in before he goes in, but we'll see. The other story we just talked about, Coughlin's out. How did Jacksonville come to their senses at this particular point? Because we saw this coming, that he shouldn't have been there, and they hadn't gotten any better. Matter of fact, they kind of regressed in the whole process. But how did they come to their senses, man, in this?
Well, I think early on it was something that everybody thought was good because he kind of brought a spark, and they were bringing in players they thought were really going to work. I think a couple years ago when they had the Patriots right on the ropes, should have won the game, and they found a way to regress. But then after you start watching where Ramsey wants out, other guys not just performing, you get your brand new quarterback, even your main plug, offensive plug, Leonard Fournette having issues as well. It's so many different things. They are investing in Fournette. He's not probably going to go anywhere. There's so many other players that they're invested in that it was probably just time. It really was. And you need to clean the slate because now you have trying to figure out the quarterback battle as to what's going on. You put the money in folds, and you have also Mishu back there. So there's a lot going on. So in order to get right, as they say, because Lord knows they need wide receivers bad. So somebody needs to bring in the talent pool. So in order to get right, Coughlin had his nice little run. He was significant in making the difference there. They didn't win it, but they got closer than they probably ever have been. So it's time to move on. And if he's the guy who's supposed to be the staunch disciplinarian, the tough guy, you had a nice run. It's time to go home, Tom. Thank you. Time to move on, bro.
Like in the old Godfather, Tom is like, you know what? You're out, Tom.
That's basically. Yeah. Wait. No, you said Tom.
You're out, Tom.
All right. Godfather.
I think the game is passing by. I really do. And but there are some teams in the league that need a disciplinarian and need to kind of right the ship. And I think he could be a good person to do that. Kind of like a in between until they get to that other coach.
It's time for the concierge to go home, man.
Yeah.
Time the concierge to move on.
You're out, Tom. 10 ex-NFL players charged with defrauding healthcare program, man. I'm surprised this story didn't come out earlier because with all the concussions and all that other stuff and people really the NFL really never takes care of the folks who retire. And so you kind of saw this coming where somebody was going to find a loophole in the system and they were going to try to take as much money as they could to get their medical needs taken care of, but it still doesn't make it right, Ice.
Yeah, and see, I feel for that, and with the concussion, I think that the players deserve to be taken care of as far as their health. But then my only issue with that is allegedly that Clinton Portis had a $500,000 or $300,000, $500,000 debt, at the MGM Grand Casino in Las Vegas. I mean, I have a hard time feeling sorry for a millionaire that doesn't know how to freaking gamble. I'm just saying, bro. I mean, others, yeah. I mean, and then whoever started it just kind of started a line. And how do you not know when you start something like this, you're going to get caught, man?
Yeah.
You're going to get caught. My thing is, if you have a gambling debt, why don't you just run away?
Yeah.
Let the mafia find you. Don't go to prison trying to, because I mean, the way that they're doing it, those could be federal offenses.
Yeah.
Surely, you're going to jail for that, and you play football? Man, nah, I'd run away. I'd go to Aruba some damn where. Go up a pencil stand, number 2 pencils with erasers. Football team, something.
I mean, it's real bad, and it's a bad look, and you kind of saw this coming that somebody was going to do this some kind of way, and you know, it's a bad optics. I always say bad optics. I'm trying to see where we're going next. I know we're going to the NCAA basketball, and like I said, nobody wants to be number one, and I'm looking at I think Tennessee and Cincinnati. Cincinnati lost a heartbreaker I think yesterday, and so it's just a funny season. And you know I'm feeling sad because Cole Anthony is pretty much done for the year. He's out for 6 to 8 weeks, and Carolina, that's the number 1 player right there. They're not even in the top 25 right now. So yeah, let's talk some NCAA basketball, man. What are you seeing? Kansas is number 1. Gonzaga and North Carolina play tonight. Don't see North Carolina coming out in that game looking pretty at all.
Yeah, it's tough because they had to totally adjust what they do. And the way that they lost to Wofford, it's like, wow. I mean, that threw me for a loop. I mean, it's one thing to lose to maybe Ohio State because they were ready. But when you're losing to teams like Wofford, not saying they're not a good team, but
they're not.
It shows you that that coach is going to have to go to the drawing board and figure out something else out. If you know Cole's not going to be around, then you have to adjust accordingly. But as you mentioned, Ohio State lost to Minnesota. I was telling somebody else that Ohio State's going to have to find a go-to guy offensive to go to an offense. You think that Caleb Weston's going to be that guy, but it's not always the case. And then, of course, they had the young man from Minnesota drop 35 on them. So that doesn't help the situation. And for a team that's known for its defense, took it hard. It's tough being number 1. It really is. So many have fallen, Duke, Louisville, now Ohio State, so many others. But like I told you, it is, you got Kansas moving up, so many other teams coming up. Kentucky. They play Ohio State on Saturday. It should be an interesting game. And then the team I told you about before, we mentioned about Gonzaga, but Auburn. I told you, I think they're slowly but surely kind of bouncing around. Just good teams in the NBA as well. I mean, not NBA, but in the Big Ten as well. Indiana making some moves of like that too. And Maryland was supposed to be good. Penn State popped them. It's wide open. Teams are taking losses all over the place.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to make for great, get teams better prepared when we come to the tournament. So if you think you're going to be looking at a team that's going to go undefeated, maybe because they don't play anybody, I don't see that coming. I see teams with more losses than usual, and it's going to make for better overall play, better teams, and a better overall tournament.
Like the song says with the Temptations and Rick James, standing on the top. Probably true. Michigan drops 9 slots down. They're down at 14. Remember, they were in the top 5 when they were beating teams like North Carolina, Gonzaga, and Memphis is still rolling on. I mean, a lot of people are saying that Memphis is the team that's going to be in that Final Four. They're playing real well without their best player, and so, I mean, those guys are gelling. They're playing well. They're getting used to it. I can't wait till Wiseman gets back. Remember, Michigan State was number 1. They're down to number 15. Arizona's down. Villanova's down. You have Florida State moving up 2 spots from 21 to 19. Tennessee is playing tonight, but they dropped 2 slots. They're playing Cincinnati. We'll see who wins that. Penn State jumps into the top 25 for the first time in a long time. And you got West Virginia. Nobody saw West Virginia kind of coming, but West Virginia stepped into the top 25. They moved up 12 slots from where they were. up to the top 25. Anybody else that you've noticed on the NCAA football?
Yeah, well, the other team that I think we need to look at is Butler. I like Butler. Butler is kind of sneaking their way up. Nobody's paying attention to them. They play hardcore defense, and I'm not sure if they lost yet. They might be 9-1 or 9-0, but Butler's playing some very tough basketball. So looking forward to them. There's so many different teams right now, so many different teams that are playing, and I think the closer we get to it, again, the better competition we're going to see.
Yeah, we got Tennessee and Cincinnati. They're battling. It's 49-49, 11 minutes, 22 seconds left in the second. So that's going to go down the stretch. Hopefully, I like watching basketball games where it's close down the stretch, especially this time of year. Let's go to the NBA, man. There's a lot of things happening in the NBA, and there's some games on tonight and tomorrow. And the NBA pass was free, so I got to see some teams that I regularly don't see, Phoenix and Sacramento and things of that sort. One of the big the news stories that came out today, of course, Fizdale was fired. The Knicks are 3-3 without him now. And the Knicks, and I know why the Knicks are doing this. They hired David Blatt, who used to coach the Cleveland Cavaliers until LeBron got him canned. Allegedly.
Oh, wow. He is? He's the coach?
No, he's not the coach. He's like a consultant. And here's why
okay.
I think he's a consultant. I think he's a consultant. Because nobody wants to play for the Knicks, especially American players or players coming out of colleges. That's not the sexy place to play. I think the Knicks have strategically put him in for the European market to get some European players over here who are willing to come to the NBA and will be willing to play in New York. They're looking at Luka Doncic and players like that coming over from Europe and becoming sensations over here. I think they're putting David Blatt in to reach out to a European market and also get some European players that really haven't smelt the stench of the Knicks organization in the last 30 or something years, like we have, smelt it, but will be willing to come and play for a big market like New York.
Yeah, but see, my only problem with that though is I don't believe that an all European team is going to win in the NBA Finals.
Not all, but
well, not even primarily. I'm just saying that you have a couple standout players, the Doncic and even Porzingis when he's ready, and some other guys too. But that's noble. But you still need some American players. I think the Knicks just need to get a decent freaking coach and have the owner go upstairs and let him coach and get a general manager who knows what the hell they're doing and spending the money right. That's what it really comes down to, brass tactics. But if you don't care and you're pulling the tag that you don't care about winning, then it'll be what it is. But I think that you might want to focus on getting those American players too, because as much as people say, it's still a different game over here. I mean, you look at Luka Doncic and doing what he's doing in Dallas, though. But certain nights, he's shown that you can do all that, but you're not winning. When you play late, you're not winning. And at the end of the day, we talk about these fabulous players. I take nothing. I give nothing to respect about these European players or these foreign players come over here and ball out like that. But then again, we get all excited about them and what they're doing, but we constantly dogging James Harden, dropping up 50 a night, saying he's no damn good. So I mean, which one is it? I mean, you either love it or you hate it. Which one is it? I'm kind of confused by that a little bit. These certain individuals come up here and don't win anything, but when you start losing to championships or not performing in the postseason, you catch all kind of hell when you're an American player. I don't know. Maybe the expectations are higher. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna get you. You're trying to get me into that debate with James Harden. I'm not gonna do that tonight. I'm not talking negative about James Harden and what they're doing. I'm just gonna talk. We're gonna talk to NBA basketball. Points, but you know how I feel about him. Regular season, he's a killer. Postseason, yeah.
Hey, can we say that since we're not talking about it? Can we say that about the Greek Freak? Anyway, but I'm just.
I mean, hey,
huh?
They're balling. He's getting better. His numbers are up. They're leading the East. They're the best in the East. And they say if they beat LeBron and them tomorrow night, they may be the best in the NBA.
Weren't they supposed to be the best in the East last year?
Yeah, but they ran into a buzzsaw with
Isn't that postseason?
That's with the Clippers right now.
Isn't that the postseason?
Yeah, but
Okay.
they balled out. What
Okay.
Toronto did, what I thought was genius, they put like 4 guys up front, like the purple people eaters, and they would not give Giannis a lane to kind of just bolt down the lane and go to, which maybe he
Right.
figured that out, because this year I thought they would be a little bit, they wouldn't be that good without Brogdon. And
Yeah.
Brogdon is balling out in Indianapolis,
Right.
but they need another scorer. Well, the Greek Freak he's balling out, and he got better numbers now than he did when he won the MVP. So
I
this
give you that. I just got a question though. I got a question.
Yeah.
What does that mean in the postseason? And he don't have enough. He just doesn't. I said that forever. Every year, 3 years in a row. Greek Freak this, Greek Freak that. Okay, you're not gonna win with one dude. Ask LeBron.
Okay. You done tricked me into this conversation because you trying to treat the Greek Freak like James Harden right now. You sounded like me with James Harden right now.
Hey, all I'm saying is at least James Harden and his team lost to the eventual champions. That's all I'm saying.
And so did Milwaukee.
Okay. All right, but what have they even gotten close?
And got a better and went a game 7 with them.
Okay. All right. I just need to, I'm like you. I need to see you more in the postseason.
Give me your eye test on the NBA, man. You're always tricking me into arguing.
Well, Milwaukee's playing well anyway. But
after all,
you had to give Milwaukee their props. They're doing real well considering they lost a lot of people. But I'm telling you, I just think this is going to be a lot of teams that are really firing on. You look at, I've said this before, and you mentioned Indiana. I think once Oladipo comes back, there's going to be things to hell to pay. The Clippers are up and down. They win a game, take a game off, whatever, but they're still going to be right there in the hunt. The Lakers are trying to kind of get themselves pumped up. Boston, we just have to see. I still don't know about Boston. I really don't. I don't know about Boston, whether or not they're going to be ready for that East. And Philadelphia plays with you. They play with your emotions.
They do.
It's like they're like, okay, well, we're down. So I think the East is still kind of wide open. Toronto's doing real well with the best of what they have. I want to move over to the West very quickly. One of the teams that I think people are down up on, and then of course they're criticizing this guy because they're like, oh, he's not doing anything, is Utah. Mm-hmm. Mike Conley's numbers are down, and people are expecting a lot more. But you got to realize that he can have all this leadership in the world, but you need to have these other players like Mitchell and other guys rise to the occasion. Even as a leader, you can't force people to pick their game up. And some of the people they brought in right now, it's going to be interesting to see what these trades go off of. There's a lot of teams that need help. Philadelphia could use somebody else. You can see some other moves, and maybe Memphis will wake the hell up and let Iguodala go and do what he's supposed to do.
But you're looking at Houston. Houston is in the number 5 spot.
Uh-huh.
Did you expect them to be at the number 5 spot with Westbrook and Harden?
Tell me this: how many games are they behind in the out of the 2nd spot?
They are about 5.5 games out.
Okay. The reason why I'm not surprised by this, and I'll tell you why, because some people had to pick them higher. Mm-hmm. But I said from the beginning, I think it comes down to talent. You get 1 or 2 guys, and you try to make them better than what the team is overall. I mean, they're missing some pieces. They lost some pieces, and they're missing some pieces. You got rid of you need the big fella Capella to play. They're just not as strong. They had to let some people go in order to get Westbrook. And you got 1 or 2 guys, they're not going to carry you. They might get you past the 1st and 2nd round, but eventually when you play a real team, you're going to lose. So I'm not surprised they're like in the 5th position, because they might truthfully only be the 5th best team because they don't have the overall, to me, talent to make that move up.
So that makes me think that there's going to be some trades happening before the trading deadline, with Milwaukee getting another scorer,
They need it.
Houston getting another. Yeah, Milwaukee does. I honestly do. Houston getting a shot blocker or a guy who can take up the paint to defend, and I just see some other teams. I still think even with Melo with Portland, they're still missing something. They're still missing something, and they got to figure it out, because that was the team that really I was cheering for in the West in the playoffs last year, because they were playing so well. And so, but you just see that they're just missing something that they really need to make that run again. And teams got to do this, because Golden State ain't gonna stay hurt forever. They're coming back. So if you're gonna do it in the West, you better do it this season, because when Golden State comes back, they're coming back with a vengeance, because people are beating them. I mean, like they stole something, and many people will probably say they did steal some of those championships, but they're beating them like they stole something. But they haven't forgot that. But I just, like I said, I just see Milwaukee, even though they need another scorer, and maybe they have it on the team, and maybe they need to get into somebody's behind on that team. I think Milwaukee is the best in the East right now. And, we'll see what Toronto has to say about that, Philly, Boston, and Indiana have to say about that. But I see them as a team that's hungry. They want it. They got a taste of it, and they want that ring.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. I mean, they have a light. The Greek Freak is special, but again, I think when you have the two Lopez brothers, and you need more than that, you just do.
Yeah.
And I think the postseason, and the closer you get to the postseason, shows you that you just can't come in with two players unless you LeBron and you get somebody that really works with him, and you have to be special that way. And I think it's just the Greek Freak needing to get more experience under his belt and learning how to make his other players better.
One thing I would say about the Lakers, I don't think AD could stay healthy for the whole year. That's my only concern about the Lakers, that he's the guy that could carry them to the West or the finals this year, but can he stay healthy long enough?
And that's what they say, though. That's why it's called load management, bro.
Load management, whatever kind of management. I haven't seen this guy play a whole season without having a stomach ache or a fingernail, clipped. Something's happening to him where his toe hurts.
Load management. Load management.
All right, man. We're getting ready to go to overtime. Gotta say, Hayden Fry, Herman Boone passed away from remember the Titans. You remember Denzel Washington playing him. He passed away today. Some great coaches passed away. We'll talk about it on overtime. Catch us on Blog Talk Radio. We will see you soon.